Have you ever been reading a comic and then partway through it feels like an alien meteor fell from the sky and landed on Earth and replaced all the characters with exactly matching body doubles? That's how I felt reading Trying to Divorce My Tyrant Husband, and I'm like 90% sure that webtoon pulled the plug. So, quick rehash. Tyrant Husband is in isekai. This woman in Korea died. She wakes up and she realizes she's been reborn. Well, not reborn, but she's taken over the body of Robelia. Anyway, Robelia realizes that if she doesn't change her destiny, she's going to end up like in the novel, abandoned and dying on her own. So she sets out to divorce from her husband so she can leave and live and be happy. And so the main conflict here is that he, after she asks, he does not want to divorce from her because he gets interested. And so now he's like, well, no, now I want you to stay. And so that's the main conflict, is her trying to leave and him trying to make her stay, and they fall in love. Okay, plot summary. Main character Robelia is isekai'd from Korea, and she finds herself in the body of the Empress, who is the main character of the novel she is reading. Or actually, from her perspective, I guess she was the villain since she didn't get the guy in the end. Anyway, after she realizes this, she starts freaking out because Robelia dies at the end of the novel and she doesn't want to die. So she sets out to ruin her reputation in order to get a divorce from the Emperor. Now, Robelia was a really fun character in the beginning for me. She went out of her way to create messes and conflicts in order to get the attention of officials in the palace so that she could ruin her reputation, and the hope was that her husband would divorce her. So doing things like going to black markets, that's shameful. Slapping strangers in public at a party, terrible, but it was hilarious. And it never worked. So it was funny because she was trying to do this thing and she had an expectation, and the expectation was not met. Instead, we got something else. So classic subversion of expectations, and that was what made the flow in the beginning and got us into this world. And so that, in addition to Robelia, what her main flaws were, her fear of being loved and trusting others. She couldn't bring herself to trust that the Emperor would eventually maybe come to love her and spare her. She's like, that's not an option. There's no way that's happening. So she was steadfast in her goal to leave. Robelia's biggest, I don't know if you call it a character flaw, but mistake is her believing that what was in the novel is simply what's going to happen, and like that's that, even when evidence is presented to her to the contrary. For example, there are characters that come in that are supposed to be villains because they're meant to be on Aisha's side, the Mistress, and they end up being her ally and her friend. And even though those things happen, she's still determined to leave because she still thinks that no matter what happens, the end of this book is going to be with her dead and Aisha running off with her man. Even when the Emperor goes out of his way to show interest to her, she's like, there's no way, he's not going to like me for long, this is going to fade away, he's still going to run back to that woman. And I think that's because of the way she was raised. Someone was not giving her love and she had only herself to depend on. And so now she's in this mindset where everything is locked in and she can't break out of that. And it's not until season 2 that we see her start to decide, well, maybe I can change things, maybe my fate can be different, and we see a different side of her. I really liked the characters' dynamic in season 1 between Alexandros and Robelia because he was the Tyrant King, so he liked when people did bad and chaotic things, and she was doing bad and chaotic things to get away from him. So she was essentially feeding into the opposite of her goal, and I found that very comical. Unfortunately, in season 2 we lose that a little bit. He becomes a bit of a lovesick puppy, and she gets what she wants. And Robelia getting what she wants completely destroys the friction that we had in season 1, and so in order to replace that friction, we had to introduce this guy. I have to give Priest Guy the award for worst villain, the worst villain in an isekai award. Well, for now, I'm sure I'll find somebody else, but for now, I hate him. So much of his interaction with the story, he just adds threats, very empty threats, I might add. He doesn't actually hurt the main characters in any way that's permanent. He hurts other people, little NPCs and stuff. He kills them, and that's supposed to make him more threatening because he's a murderer. But Alexandros is a murderer too. And what took away from his power the most, funnily enough, is Aisha, his puppet, the person who was directly underneath him. She was supposed to be this big threat against the Empress. She was supposed to go toe-to-toe with her and fight for Alexander's affections, but instead she fails, and she continues to fail one after the other. The people who are supposed to be her allies are not her allies in this timeline. They've gone to Rebellia's side because she's changed the narrative. And because of that, I now have no fear of the priest because he's a terrible puppeteer. Aisha's supposed to be your second in command, and she's clueless, she's clumsy, she doesn't know how to make use of the knowledge that she has. She had every advantage, and we still ended up here. And so I found myself questioning, maybe was it on purpose? Is he using Aisha just as a distraction, and maybe she was never meant to be a force, like she was just there to fill time until he was ready with his plan? Or is he just playing on the fiddle right now and doing whatever he can to make things work regardless? But I don't think he intended for her to just waste time, because he was angry when she didn't accomplish the goals. Yeah. And I also did not like the ending where he became like an eldritch god and decided that he wanted to destroy the world. I was hoping this would be more of a I want to consolidate power thing because he was from the Holy Nation, and instead he was just gonna kill everyone. I never understand what the benefit of that is unless you're going to create a new world. And he didn't say anything about that, so what exactly is your motivation? You hate God? Is that it? This might be a weird thing to say, but I really do enjoy the Mistress characters, the other women. There's so much that can be done with them. And ever since I read Remarried Empress and Queen Rashta appeared on the scene, I've just been looking for that again, just like in different font maybe. So when Aisha popped up, I was excited because she was Rebellia's opposite. She wasn't supposed to be like some downtrodden, uneducated person who's just suffering or whatever. She was on equal footing. She's supposed to be another noble lady. It's like maybe the dynamic will be the same but different, you know? Different font. But then it turned out that Aisha actually didn't know things because she was a peasant. She was just pretending to be a noble lady. She stole someone else's body. And that torpedoed it for me, because this means that Rebellia has always had the advantage from the beginning. And the unfortunate thing about Aisha's character is, instead of her being naive being an endearing trait, it got turned against her, and then after that it was all downhill because she didn't have anyone in her corner directing her and telling her how to behave to get through things, do things correctly. Each time it was Rebellia having to force their hand. Rebellia had to stop working in order to make her also work, and so she wasn't taking care of the entire palace by herself, which was crazy anyway. And then when she embarrassed herself at the party by trying to tell people, oh, look, I have a smartphone, she has no idea what a smartphone is because she's not from that time. There's nobody there to tell her not to do that. She doesn't have a confidant. And that is my problem with the priest. He sent her in there like that, expecting her to be able to figure this out, when she's just a normal person who has this knowledge that is foreign to her. How is she supposed to use modern time information to get the emperor to like her? He's a tyrant, but he's not dumb. And I also think that they didn't understand the fact that because he's a tyrant, he only wants people near him who can give him power. I'm not convinced that in the original reading of the novel that he actually loved Aisha, or he picked Aisha because she got him what he wanted. Now, I could forgive all of that. I could forgive all of the mess with the character dynamics and the conflict and the plot changing, because that's just stuff that happens with stories. You have a plan. Sometimes your plan doesn't go the way you want it to. Whatever. I cannot forgive the resolution of this relationship. Why did Rebellia tell Alexandros that, yeah, I love you, but I still don't forgive you for all that stuff you did, so, and I'll never forgive you. She said she would never forgive him. That is not a relationship. That is building resentment that will end in disaster. Hopefully they don't have any kids, because that's going to be terrible. Out of this whole thing, the thing I was hoping for was that she would realize that he does love her and that he was just being a stupid tyrant dude because he's never felt love either. I feel like his point of view in the story was kind of ran over with a truck, because I personally would not be attracted to someone who was being desperate and clingy either. But for some reason in this instance, that makes him the villain. I mean, I guess marrying someone to consolidate power is bad, but that's like normal also. He's the king. All the kings do this, but for some reason that makes him the bad guy. But yeah, I just wanted them to have like a real love, and instead we get this dollar store, I guess I accept you confession. I don't know, it kind of got on my nerves. Well, I think I got all my words out, all my reviewing and complaining. Stick around and check out this other video I made if you want. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment telling me what you thought about the story if you've read it, or if you haven't read it, go read it. Although you might not want to since it's in Daily Pass now. See ya!